more of a failure of the Democratic Party to better identify the needs and desires and the issues which are of greatest importance to what we would call minority voters.
And the midterms is a crucial bit because, of course, it is 2 years since US President Joe Biden came to power in, well, what was the most fraught of elections. And these are the first federal elections since the 6th of January attack on the US Capitol, when Trump supporters tried to stop Joe Biden's election victory from being certified. Joe Biden isn't up for re-election until 2024, but candidates have been vying for positions large and small, and some outcomes at state levels, key governors and local races could become vital, with controversial issues such as abortion rights and restrictions, and also the big question of will Donald Trump run again for the presidency in 2024. Let's cross live this morning to Los Angeles and join Mo Kelly, political commentator and US radio host with KFI AM 640. Morning, Mo. Just how much of a verdict is this likely to be on Joe Biden's presidency?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be a verdict on his presidency and most likely a verdict on his future political career if there's going to be one. The expectation is the Republicans will probably take over the House of Representatives. That's one thing. But if they also take the Senate, it would be the end of his presidential agenda. He would not be able to pass any laws, obviously, but more importantly, he would not be able to confirm any federal judges, or if there was a vacancy on the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court justice. And if anything, that would be a full referendum against the agenda of Joe Biden and would make him a lame duck in the first half of his first term and make it almost politically impossible for him to proceed or even run for president for a second term, given his advanced age.
Mo, I'm just looking at the results as we have them at the moment as we speak, and it does seem too close to call. The Senate, Democrats 46, Republicans 46. There are 100 seats up for election. The House of Representatives, the Democrats 150, Republicans 183. This is not exactly the red wave that we heard former President Donald Trump talk about. It still seems to be very close.
Yeah, as of this point, in terms of the Senate, there were 35 Senate seats which were up for election. 21 of them were being defended by Republican incumbents. So the map favored the Democrats as far as fewer seats they had to defend. But at this point, there have been no surprises, and all the Senate elections have been chalk, meaning that the ones that the Republicans were incumbents, they have won, or the Democrats were incumbents, they have won. No seats have changed hands. So that's what we're waiting for a Senate seat to actually change hands. The one to look at is the state of Pennsylvania, where in 2020, the sitting senator, Pat Toomey, retired, who's a Republican. And so this seat, which is up between John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz, who's a celebrity, is right now being led by John Fetterman. So that's the first Senate seat which could flip, as they say, and would be one in favor or a pickup of one seat for the Democrats, which would be huge in the overall tally. But that is still to be decided.
Okay, so that's Pennsylvania that we need to keep an eye on. I'm just wondering about the key issues that have played out in these midterms. We've heard a lot of talk about abortion rights or restrictions. You and I before have talked about the issue of gun crime. Has that played out as a motivator for people going to the ballot?
Absolutely. The way the Republicans have framed it has been an increase in violent crime, which also includes gun violence, but it's also used as a response to violent crime. In other words, increased gun purchases and gun usage. That has been I would say, a tactic, if you will, to motivate Republican voters for quite some time. It's not any different in this election, but the difference is violent crime is up, and crime and law and order, if you will, as a campaign tactic, is very much on the ballot.
And Mo, I wonder if you've seen this poll that was out late yesterday from the Wall Street Journal. It's found that Republicans are winning support from a larger share of black voters than in any other recent elections, and that the party's improved its standing in the past few months among Latino voters. If that is the case, why are people moving from Democrats to Republicans?
I think it's more of a failure of the Democratic Party to uh, better identify the needs and desires and the issues which are of greatest importance to what we would call minority voters. It's not like the Republican Party is doing more to recruit them. It's more that Black voters and Latino voters may have tired of the Democratic Party not necessarily catering directly to our interests. And that's one thing. Something else is we're not a monolithic group. If you say Latinos, it could be Cuban, it could be Mexican, it could be any number of different communities under that Latino umbrella. And Black people are not a monolithic group either. So for races to swing, Republicans don't need large percentages of these groups, just a small percentage. And these elections are so very close, they could be the difference in the end.
Okay, you were talking about Pennsylvania just before there. I'm just saying that at the moment, CBS News is saying that Pennsylvania is leaning Democrat. I mean, we don't have that result confirmed at all yet, but as you said, that is a crucial one to watch. In the last few hours, the former president Donald Trump has been speaking. We saw him at a rally in Dayton, Ohio, yesterday, just before the polls opened. And he was there with a big crowd of supporters. He's been rallying his supporters overnight as well. Do you think it's inevitable that he is going to stand for the presidential elections in 2024?
Absolutely, 100%, no doubt in my mind. It is also a legal tactic to give him some political and legal cover. It is a way that he can fundraise more efficiently and more successfully. He can't necessarily fundraise in perpetuity and not run for office because the interest will wane after a certain point. The elections right now will give him some wind at his back. So I would expect him to announce sooner than later, probably in the next day or so.
Okay, it will be interesting to see. I know he said that he was going to make an announcement on the 15th of November next week. I do wonder, though, as these results come in, if we will hear any more from him. Just a couple of other pointers, Mo. I see that a few noticeable results. Wes Moore in Maryland has become the first black governor of the state. That's a significant moment.
It's significant, I would say, culturally for African Americans. It's significant politically because it's a pickup of a governorship for the Democratic Party, and that helps determine how elections will be run in the future. So it's important. It is very important.
Okay, and just one other quick point. In Massachusetts, I see that Maura Healey there has been elected governor, and she's made history as well as the state's first woman and first openly gay candidate to have been elected to office.
Well, that's even more significant, I would say, if you look at the history of the state of Massachusetts. Even though you may have some Democratic successes in that state, it is considered very conservative in many pockets of the state. And so any type of politician who should have success, who can represent an underrepresented community, I think it says a lot about the direction of this nation and also the growth of this nation. That as we say, we're creating a more perfect union, and that is an example of it that we can point to each day.
Okay, Mo, just stay with us for one moment. I just want to bring you some audio of the former president, Donald Trump, who was speaking a couple of hours ago.
In Ohio, J.D. Vance is now leading 52-47. And we had an incredible rally last night in Ohio. And you saw that in Florida, Marco Rubio, we had an unbelievable rally for Marco the night before with the heaviest rain I've ever been involved with. I was up there. It was beautiful, everything. This is the tropics, right, Florida? It was so beautiful. It was the most beautiful night. And all of a sudden, it turned deadly dark. and it was like you had massive pails of water that just fell on top of me. We went through the worst storm, but we gutted it out. I had no teleprompters. We had 45,000 people out there. We had no teleprompter. And I said, I wonder what Biden would do right now. But we gutted it out, and it was amazing. But Marco had a fantastic evening at 58-41. That's really tremendous. That's as of this moment. Katie Britt, I want to congratulate Katie Britt. We endorse Katie, and she did fantastically. 68-30. That means she has a future, young, and just a fantastic woman with a husband who's great. He's maybe the largest human being I've ever seen. He was a offensive lineman in the NFL for a long time and a great football player, actually. Played for Alabama. But Katie, congratulations to you. And we have a lot of other good ones going out there. Herschel's leading right now.
That was the former US President Donald Trump, who has been remaining confident the Republicans are making gains. Mo Kelly is still with us this morning, US radio host and political commentator. Mo, just a very quick one. I mean, when we saw the presidential elections, obviously looking back to what happened on January the 6th and the refusal to accept the results of the presidential election from Donald Trump's supporters, is there concern at the moment this morning that there will be refusal to accept any of the results in the midterm elections?
Absolutely. And the election deniers, as they've been called, they've said as much that some candidates have gone as far as saying they will not accept any result with the exception of them winning, including Carrie Lake in Arizona, as she is running for governor, for senator. So those are examples of an unrest and an uncertainty which await this country, because there are those who refuse to accept or believe that our elections are free and fair and devoid of fraud, or at least fraud to the point where it will swing an election. So who knows how all this is going to turn out? It's going to take days, in some cases weeks, to just sort out who wins initially. And then you have recounts, and then you probably have legal challenges.
Really good to get your expertise. Thanks for staying up late to join us this morning. That is Mo Kelly in Los Angeles, political commentator and US radio host.